Welcome along, everyone, to our first finance performance meeting for the year. Let's stand for the opening karakia, please. Whakataka te hau ki te uru. Thank you. Okay, so we've got an apology for absence from Andre. We've got Aaron and Tyler online, and we've got a lateness for Victoria and Pauline. I don't know about Celeste and Tyrone. Celeste's online as well. Okay. Don't they have? I thought we were getting approvals to be online. Aren't we? Yeah. Yeah. We probably need to pick that up again. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll move those. Mark's happy to second them. All in favour? Against? That's carried.
Aye.
Declarations of interest. We've got Deputy Mayor Henstock and Councillor McCallum for item 12, CNZ. Tyrone and Aaron for venues Otatei. Mel for CCHL 14. And if there's anything else, people just let us know as it crops up. So, yep. Cool, okay. Then we'll go to the confirmation of the minutes from the 17th of December from last year. I'm happy to move them. Jake's happy to second them. All in favour? Against? That's carried.
Aye.
There aren't any public forums, but our first... Is Shelby here? Oh, great. Come on up, Shelby. So Shelby's here from Pickleball Stuff New Zealand, and I'm sure the team have told you you've got up to 10 minutes, and within that time, there's time for questions as well. Thank you. And this is an item, a relation to item 11.
Cool. And I'm to press? Yeah, cool. All right, good morning, everyone. Thanks very much for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name's Shelby. I'm the owner of Pickleball Stuff New Zealand, and I'm already on the wrong there. That's the right one. Hopefully you've heard of pickleball by now. If not, it's the most fun you're ever going to have. It's a hybrid between tennis, badminton, and table tennis, and it's kind of taking the world by storm. Pickleball Stuff New Zealand is the largest pickleball retailer in the country, and we are very deeply embedded in the community, both here in Christchurch and kind of across New Zealand, travel to tournaments, support wherever we can. And at this stage, we're ready to take the next step with our business by opening a purpose-built 9-court pickleball facility. So if successful, we will be the first in the South Island and the largest in New Zealand. My understanding is we might, if we get there in time, just be the second in the country. Hopefully you've had the chance to read the letter that I wrote relating to this request. It's on page 218 if you haven't. Please read it before voting on anything. I'd really appreciate that. It also includes a letter of support from Canterbury Pickleball. That letter details all of my kind of heartfelt reasons for requesting your support with this, but today I just want to speak about the 2025 policy that applies to development contributions. So on screen there, you'll see that is our proposed venue at 268B Main South Road, Hornby. We've been trying to do this for a year and a half, and we've been shut down so many times at different venues, so finding this was really exciting. But unfortunately, that emoji in the top right corner was my face in October last year when I started the process of the change of use, industrial to recreational, and had a reply from the development contributions team outlining that our fee would be $178,000 to convert this existing warehouse, just pop a couple of pickleball courts in there. So this was formerly used for heavy manufacturing, a lot of trucks, courier vans. My understanding is that there were 20 staff in there. So it's a warehouse that was already kind of putting a strain, if you will, on infrastructure. That fee, of course, is on top of large rent, operating expenses, big fit out, legal, consultant, resource consent, building consent, change of use. It really, it nearly stopped me in my tracks. So I started to do a lot of research on these development fees, because this is all brand new to me. I've never done anything like this. So in doing that, I did an OIA request about these fees, and from that, my understanding, and I'm happy to be corrected, but my understanding is that this is the first use of the updated methodology for an industrial to recreational facility, and it's the first at all since 2022. It appears that the 2025 changes in methodology have significantly increased development contribution assessments. So my intention is to simply repurpose this existing space and reactivate a building that has been vacant for 18 months in doing so. So I just want to pop up a couple of examples that came up in my research of previous consents issued, some what I think are more fair comparisons, because these are examples of resource consent for repurposed existing buildings. Probably the most relevant is that bottom one from 2022. That was a large-scale conversion to go-karts from previously being like an industrial warehouse. That's Blenheim Road. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. But these are facilities that wanted to do something similar to me in just repurposing an industrial warehouse and making it a recreational facility. But to be as fair and reasonable as I can, this one is probably the most similar that I could find. So this was a resource consent granted for the Propeller Swim School in Wigram. As you can see, they were charged $79,000 in development contributions. I think this is the most similar because they also repurposed an existing space. They are also recreational, community wellbeing focused, and most importantly, they appear to have a similar traffic turnover rate. So I checked out their website, and they've got learn to swim classes all day long, parents dropping off and picking up their kids. And that's kind of similar with what we would intend to be doing with hour to hour and a half slots, maximum 4 people per court. You can see how our contribution estimate added up with that, but it doesn't seem to have taken into account that the majority of the day will be off-peak for us while people are at work. And that's when we're willing to offer off-peak rates as well to aged care facilities and schools. So this was another example where there was no new land development or core infrastructure load, and yet our development contribution estimate is more than double theirs. And this was only a few years ago. Now, you will see in page 213 of the agenda that the development team has prepared a report for you, sadly advising you to decline my request for remission. But I do just want to point out there on page 213 that a few of the things we've been compared to, I don't believe are fair comparisons. For example, that King's Swim School and Jus Badminton were charged around $150,000 in development fees. However, those are examples of brand new construction. We are repurposing an existing building for recreational use. We're not building something from scratch. There's no new core infrastructure load. All of the traffic, public transport exists in the area already. So that's just something that I wanted to point out as well. My question here really is, was this the intent of the new 2025 policy? I totally agree that growth should cover growth and that developers should pay their fair share. But my question is, was it meant to penalise the reuse of existing space and apply inflexible charges where infrastructure demand is considerably lower than if it were a new high-density development? And also, these don't come about too often, so I just ask you to consider how it's applying to the first instance since 2022. Just to finish off, I'm asking for your support because without it, this opportunity comes under massive pressure. $178,000 is no small amount of money. And sadly, I'm aware of other examples where businesses have been stifled in the planning stages because they went to go get that estimate and they couldn't make it work. The fee as it stands sets my business model back 4 years. So I just want you to please consider supporting a space that promotes many of the council's goals. We love pickleball because you get people from 9 to 99 on the court. You have a teenager having a really competitive game with their mum or dad, and it's just brilliant. That's why we want to have a really good crack at this. I'm a young entrepreneur, but $178,000 is just a little bit too much for me. So please consider my request, and thank you for your time.
Hey, thank you, Shelby, and you've put that really well, so I appreciate you coming in. I've got a question from Mark.
Thank you, and thank you for coming in, and thank you for your application. Yes. They mentioned in the staff report about potentially a payment plan. Mm-hmm. Would that be of any assistance in this? Does that make it easier for you?
Yes, if all else fails, definitely, because we could kind of spread it out. Yeah, if all else fails.
Yeah.
Pauline?
Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Were you expecting to pay any DCs at all when you embarked on this journey, or is it just the quantum of the DC or the principle of it that you...
No, it's not the principle, it's the quantum. And I think that example that I gave of the propeller swim school was more in line with our expectations. And as I said, it just seems to have kind of jumped up in 2025. We tried to get in before then, but just venues kept falling apart.
Okay, thanks.
No, that's really, I think it's been really worthwhile you coming in, and that's the point of these sessions, is you can share your view and we'll take it into consideration. What we'll probably do is, we've got another deputation, then we might get the DC team and do that item while you're here.
Okay, cool.
Which will probably be about, I don't know, quarter of an hour away.
An hour, yeah.
No, about 15 minutes.
Oh, 50, no,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
good.
just-
Okay, cool.
So
Oh,
that would be,
Thank
but yeah,
you.
thank you for coming. And I have given pickleball a go at Burnside Park in the tennis club. And I thought it was about the only sport I could sort of do. So yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. And you're all invited to my new facility if we can get it open.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, now I've got, thank you, Shelby. I've got Kelly's, I saw Kelly was here. Where's Kelly there? Great, come on up. So you got 10 minutes as well. And this is in relation to items 13 and 14 for the letters of expectation.
Hello, is it on? Yep, it's green. Good to go. Kia ora everyone, thank you for having us here today. My name's Kelly Gibson and I'm the team leader for Itu Union based here in Christchurch. And beside me I have Chaz, who I think is familiar around the table here from Living Wage. And I've got some colleagues here with me. So we're here to talk to items 13 and 14 today, the draft expectations for venues Otautahi and CCHL, seeking commitment to the living wage accreditation. So what that means is you're saying, yes, we ensure all workers, whether directly employed or contracted, to do regular and ongoing work are paid enough to live on, meaning that they can fully participate in the life of the community. We know that workers like this put in over 70% of their wages back into the local economy. Paying the living wage is not a cost, but an investment in a healthy, active community. So Itu is the largest private sector union in New Zealand, and our collective agreements cover multiple CCHL companies, including the likes of City Care and Orion. We also have staff that work as contractors through the Christchurch City Airport, and we also represent a large number of members at venues Otautahi. We believe that there are greater opportunities for the council to ensure that CCOs are meeting the expectations and the direction of council, particularly in relation to the living wage and the industrial relations. We strongly urge council to expand on the great work that they have done becoming living wage accredited by including this in the letter of expectations for CCHL and venues Otautahi. We believe that the council has a responsibility at a higher level to ensure the council-controlled organisations like CCHL and venues are paying staff the living wage. We are concerned that if wording in the letter of expectations is not further strengthened, a message is sent that living wage isn't a priority for council, especially considering that VO attempted to introduce a starting rate lower than the living wage, and contrary to the letter of expectations which stated that VO is expected to continue its commitment to the council's living wage policy. Now is the time to strengthen this. So what we're seeking is stronger accreditation for CCOs, in particular to VO and CCHL. Thank you.
Great, thank you for coming in. Does anyone have any questions? Kelly?
Yeah, I'm just curious as to your understanding of what VO was trying to do by starting an academy for workers who otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity to work at VO, so that they could go through a process to be at a level where they could work for VO and earn the living wage.
I think it's very easy to find excuses not to pay the living wage. Throughout history, and I'm part of history sadly, we've had narratives in this direction many, many times. The bottom line is paying a working person the living wage is a moral imperative. If you don't, you are in fact peddling poverty. Rather than find excuses for not doing it, why don't you stand up and proudly say, we are doing it?
I think you'll find that VO does that. Yeah.
So
But you obviously didn't hear my question, so thanks.
Right, thank you.
Okay, so that's our deputations. David, there's no public forum there and no petitions. It's always good. Let's go to, what we'll do is we'll go to item 11. Item 11, have we got the team here, the DCs? Oh yeah, Mark's here. Let's just do that first and then we'll jump back into our... Or do you want to do 11, do you want to do 10 and 11? Do you want to just do them? And
If you're happy to.
gives you your day back. So let's do Hawadu. Yeah, okay, so let's do 10 first.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Hawadu developments. Do you want to talk, we'll take it as read, but do you want to talk us through, and we'll just note Tyler's conflicted on this item.
Certainly. Just wait a minute. So an application can be made for a remission under the Development Contributions Policy 2025 if it's demonstrated that it's unique, and by unique I'm referring to the development being unique. That was a test in the former policy, and ultimately that's how we've assessed these remission applications. There are, of course, options in this report and the subsequent report for you to consider, and that includes the payment plan as mentioned.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mark. Is there any questions on this one? No? So this is on Hawadu's one?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Just, and it's written here, but it's just for clarity for other people. We've taken into, it's only the growth of it, it's we've taken into consideration the existing building credits that were there, so it's only what more is there on that site. Have I got that? I'm pretty sure that's what I understand.
That's my understanding as well, yes.
Yeah, and that's, I think it's page 200. Yeah, okay, so we've taken that into consideration, that's right.
Thanks, Mark. So this one is being considered under the 2021 policy. So
That's correct.
what would it be if it was considered now?
In terms of the amount,
Yeah.
I don't have that to hand, but I understand it would be significantly more, in
It
fact.
would be. That's
The exact dollars I can't confirm offhand, but certainly we estimated it to be significantly more, in the millions of dollars, I believe.
So they're already actually doing quite well because they managed to get it in 2021. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Right, there's a motion, or there is no motion on the table. Does anyone have a motion they'd like to move? Mel's happy to move the staff recommendation. Would anyone like to second that? Pauline's happy to second that. Is there any discussion on that? All in favour? Against? That's carried. Great, thank you. Sorry, what?
Do we need votendo or whatever it is?
No, it was unanimous.
It wasn't, yeah.
Oh, you
sorry,
okay?
Sorry, I'm opposed.
We'll just
yeah.
note Kelly's against that one. Yep, cool. So let's go to item 11, please. The pickleball stuff, NZ one. Can you talk us through that? And I guess just to preempt it is when I first read it, I went, why on earth? And I know you've sent a memo through last night, which did make sense, but it's a significant amount for that. Can you just talk us through what that is, and I guess what our options are in light of the deputation, which said they understand there is a cost to this, but actually it's just probably not 180 grand.
So in terms of the pickleball facility, I've heard the deputation and understand the points raised. In terms of the existing demand credits, there was a memo circulated last evening which set out that existing demand credits are based on the methodology contained within the development contributions policy. The demand credits, firstly, is establishing what the previous use was, and information provided by the applicants and verified from our own records confirms warehousing with some ancillary use. The calculations of the credits are then based on rates that are in a schedule of the policy. So we apply general rates to the warehousing in terms of the level of traffic movements, which informs the development contributions payable. Now, it's worth noting this application, unlike Hawaii's, is in the context of the 2025 policy. The 2025 policy did see a reduction in the assumed traffic movements for warehousing. That was based on feedback and submissions during the course of the review of the development contributions policy, that previously the transport demand determined was based on a zone-based methodology, so it had regard to what was enabled by the zoning of industrial areas and was far too generic. So the figures in terms of assumed trip movements for warehousing have fallen between the 2021 policy and the 2025 policy. That means that the credits that can be applied are less under the 2025 policy compared to the earlier policy. In terms of the use, we've used figures provided by the applicant in terms of traffic movements, and whilst they didn't commission a transport expert, understandably because of the cost of doing so, we have compared it with traffic movements that have been provided for another proposal for a pickleball facility, and generally speaking those traffic movements align. So we're satisfied with what figures have been provided by the applicant as being consistent with what would be expected. In terms of the reference to other facilities in the report, so there was reference made to a swimming school and other facilities which the deputation described as not relevant. Those were only identified for the purpose in the context of explaining that it's not going back to the policy and determining whether a remission is appropriate. That's the key question when determining if a remission is appropriate is it unique in terms of the development? And those examples were provided of sport and recreation facilities to flag this isn't necessarily unique. And I've been informed just this morning of 4 other pickleball facility proposals, 2 of which, or one other which has been consented, and 2 which are not in the public arena in terms of details, so I can't disclose more on those. But it's not unique in terms of what's proposed here. So the challenge is that it's not unique to pass the test in the policy, but notwithstanding that, the options in the report outlined to you set out, putting aside the recommendation to reject this application, there's the option to offer a payment plan, and the suggestion in the memo was a 2-year payment plan. We can work through that with the applicant if that's your decision. The alternatives to that are that you depart from the policy, not necessarily. So one of the options is that you depart from the policy not because you consider it to be unique, but you depart and have other reasons to grant a remission. But that would, of course, be a departure from the policy and be at risk of creating a precedent for other applicants to apply for a remission in circumstances where a proposal is not unique. So The options are there for you, and I'm happy to take any further questions.
Thank you. Thank you. I've got a few questions from the team. I just wondered, so what we're saying around so just talk me through again the traffic credits. So we're effectively saying I'm assuming we've put the per unit, well, we did put the per unit price up from the 21 policy to the 2025 policy, but what we've said is because the modelling in it is assuming there'll be less movements, the historic credits that can be claimed are less. Is that what you said?
So the existing credits that have been applied, based on the confirmation of the previous use, the rates that have been applied to that previous use are based on trip generation rates assumed within the schedule that we applied to warehousing use.
Yeah, so we're effectively, but what I'm trying to get at is, were there credits sitting in the previous use that are now not being able to be applied to this current use?
Certainly there are credits that have been applied, and the figure that's 179,000 has been...
no, that wasn't my question. My question is, are there credits that were sitting in the last use that haven't been applied to this use?
No,
So 100% of the credits have been allocated?
That's right, yes.
But regardless of the change of use?
We would, so in terms of assessing the existing demand credits, we're looking at those in the context of the development contributions policy and a change of use, but you're asking if we've considered the demand credits regardless of the change of use.
Correct, yeah.
We wouldn't consider the existing demand credits except in the circumstance of assessing a development contributions. We only, in the context of council's broader activities, we only consider existing demand credit where we receive a proposal for a site and assess it accordingly. So if there wasn't a change of use proposal, we don't maintain records of existing demand credit until we receive a proposal.
Right, but so just so I understand it clearly, if you've got a pot of credits there that were sitting with the old building.
Yep.
We've transferred the use to a different type now. Has there been anything that hasn't moved from that last pot to this pot?
I don't quite.
Are we shortchanging the applicant based on the change in our policy?
If this was assessed against the previous policy, then they would be getting potentially more credits.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry for the...
No, that's right. That's good to clarify. Okay, I've got Melanie, Pauline, Tim.
Yeah, you've mentioned if we were to go with option 3, that would set a precedent if we were to do a remission, because there'd be a danger that a whole lot of other businesses would come in because the new policy is different to the old policy. But I was wondering with the payment plan, how often do we use that? And does it always come to council? Is it something usually staff would?
We've used discretion, so staff have used discretion to enable a payment plan in circumstances where it's not come to council. It's only come to council given the remission application, but even in circumstances where there's no remission, we have entertained the payment plan. We don't like to apply it too liberally, insofar as we don't want to end up with hundreds of payment plans for obvious reasons, the administration and interest costs. So we it's by exception.
Okay, great. And has anyone looked at a grant to support? I guess it's a business, isn't it? But that's a different question, I guess, for a different staff member.
Mine was on the organising the instalments option 2. How generous can we be with that time period? I mean, you're obviously going to negotiate with the applicant here, but will that, in your view, be a long enough time period to alleviate that financial burden for them? How generous can you be?
flagged in correspondence payment plan as being an option, but we haven't discussed the terms of it in terms of detail. So that's something we can, if that's what council's direction is, we can initiate that detailed discussion.
Yeah, because I think that if we did land on that one, the intention would be in order to alleviate that financial burden so they could actually proceed. Because effectively they have been caught out, haven't they, really, by our own policy that we've signed off. Thank you.
The policy that wasn't unanimous, from my recollection. Okay, Tim, and then Tyler.
Yeah, just on that payment plan, I think we've got to be open-minded about that, because you've got a new business. Suddenly, if we say, you mentioned, say, say 2 years, still 90 grand a year for a new business that's setting up. That's still a kick in the teeth. That's really, really hard to cover, especially with taxes, etc. What do we have anything in our program with regards to reusing or repurposing buildings, getting credits for that? Because the greenest building's the one that's existing. We're giving, a private entrepreneur's giving a new lease of life for an old warehouse. Have we? That's nowhere anywhere in our policies, is it?
I mean, the existing demand credits recognise the existing building and its previous use. Certainly, we through other programs of work, we encourage activation of existing buildings and vacant sites, and as part of our urban regeneration portfolio, we certainly encourage that. But industrial land, it's principally focused in commercial areas that occurs, given the high frequency of people. Industrial areas, there's a lower density of employment. There's not generally as many visitors to an area, so we tend to focus our resource in terms of activation of vacant buildings on those more highly frequented areas.
Because the three examples given are all less, and they're all new buildings, and they're all less than this one's being asked for. And I guess I'd imagine that the majority of the use would be outside of work hours, because of the people using it have to actually work as well. So yeah,
just in terms of the others where it was a new build and the DCs were less, it's worth noting that was under the previous policy.
Yeah, it's they've got to be caught out in a way. But yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Tim. I've got Tyler, Phil, then Mark, and then we'll try and Tyler.
Hey, Mark. I'm just wondering a bit more about the payment plan. And you talked about interest. So just to be clear, do we borrow and then they repay it? So do we borrow on those DCs and then they repay?
I'm not an accountant, but certainly I can say interest is applied. It's based on the cost for council of prolonged payment. I can't comment further on that offhand.
I did see interest was applied, but do you know what rate that is?
I'm unable to answer that, sorry.
Okay, no worries. All good, Sam.
Thank you, Mark. This figure is generally just traffic. Is that the answer? Sorry, I'm not putting words in your mouth. Is that how we've attained this figure?
Yes, it's solely based on traffic.
Okay, and the majority of the traffic is going to be afternoon, evening, and night time when there's no other traffic anyway. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Yes.
The traffic movements from the pickleball facility.
Yeah.
According to the hours provided by the applicant.
Yep. Okay. Now, just looking at the Kings thing, would these guys have been better to go and built a brand new building, and it would have been cheaper than the 178?
If they brought
So they said that they went to Waterloo Business Park, for argument's sake, and said, right, we're going to build a brand new building here. The DCs could have been less if it was a new building. So they're actually getting penalised for repurposing an old one that's been empty for 18 months. That's what I'm trying to get at.
No, that's not necessarily the case. The new builds that were referred to in the deputation were under the previous policy when the rates for warehousing were different and the charges per Huey were different. So I think the context has changed, and DCs are higher than what they would have been under the previous policy. But certainly in an existing building, there'd be some credits from the previous use, unlike a greenfield site where there would not be existing demand credit because there's not a previous use.
So if we, and I think we quietly got to the end of it with Sam, under the new policy, we weren't able or haven't been able to, if things had gone back a while, there would have been a lot more value of credits being able to be transferred. Is that right? Did I get that right, Sam? Am I right? We would have, how many would that have been? Say we're in old times, what would it be if it wasn't?
Would have to go away and do the calculation, sorry.
So, another one. When, just not so long ago, Parks moved into a new building in Cable Street. They rented it, okay, which was good. I actually went down there, and the traffic that must have gone out of that building, because they're all crammed in there, nicely stacked up, it was great. Did we charge that landowner more because that building was having a lot more traffic movements because Parks were in there?
We would, so each proposal is assessed on a case-by-case basis, and we assess the anticipated traffic movements from each facility according to the use. We apply general rates, but in terms of trip generation, but I can't draw a comparison because I don't have the detail of that other proposal.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is the building in question was sort of empty, and when Parks went in there, there was one hell of a lot more traffic went out of that building than what was previously. But you probably wouldn't have known because it wasn't a change of use. Would that?
Development contributions were potentially still payable. I just have to look into the detail of it.
Okay. And another question is, with our new Parks buildings that we've got, one down at Wastewater Treatment Plant and one on Wigram Road, do we pay DCs to ourselves?
We do.
Okay, that's all right. And has anyone asked Pickleball, in my view, 178 is far too much. Has anyone talked to Pickleball, and it's all very well saying, we'll give them a payment plan and all that sort of thing, but they've spent a lot of money to get to this point. Has anyone talked to them that obviously the 178 is too much? What is palatable for them?
In terms of a discount,
yeah.
I mean, the only mechanism by which we can apply a discount is council approving a remission, but a remission of a discounted amount, we assess against the criteria of the policy. Is it unique?
Yeah.
The advice is no, so we haven't gone down the path of establishing what is a discounted amount.
Okay,
but
And lastly from me, on page 215, it said if we went with option 3, approve a remission, it would cost us nearly 15 grand a year for 30 years. What would we be spending the 15 grand on? Doing up roads? Is that how that figures? Where on earth do we spend 15 grand on for 30 years, if that's the cost to us? Because that's probably how this number's been come up with. Yeah, that's my point. How on earth do we come up? Who came up with the figures? Oh, it's going to cost us 15 grand to do this going forward.
Over 30 years, that's 500. We're saying, why is it 178 in the remission?
Yeah, anyway. I'm just throwing it out there.
Just bear with. In broad terms, if the development contributions weren't payable on this development, it would be funded by council.
Yes.
Debt funded. There's interest associated with that over a 30-year program.
Yes, but the 50, like it's saying here, maintenance and ongoing costs is going to cost us 15 grand a year if these people all move in, if we give them remission. Where are we spending that?
No, it's per annum.
Per annum.
Yep.
Yeah, it's 450.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm just going.
Yeah.
God,
So you're going, the remission is 178, but the advice says 443 grand over 30 years.
Ultimately, it's I'd have to double check the figure, but ultimately there's a cost. If council's not receiving the development contributions, we have to fund the infrastructure that we're repaying in other means, and the funding of that infrastructure being serviced by debt has an interest cost.
Okay. Well, the bit I'm struggling with is I can't see where the growth is. But anyway, carry on. Thank you.
Inflation. No. Mark, and then Yanni, and then we'll try and wrap this up.
Thank you. Is there any mechanism whereby, as council, we can look at doing a strategic discount, meeting them halfway on this or something?
In terms of establishing how to arrive at that, there's not a methodology for establishing what the discount should be. So I'd have to go away and come back to you on what that rationale would be.
Right. Yep. And we had the question earlier about the length of time that a payment plan could be. Would we be thinking a number of years for a payment plan?
I mean, the longer the duration, the greater the risk. So, and the administration of it. There's the risk of it ultimately not being repaid, for instance, if the business didn't continue beyond 5 years, for instance. So the longer duration, the impact, greater impact it also has in terms of interest, because we're not receiving the amount upfront.
Right. Just to put it on the table, I'm looking at option 2. I'd move that. Yes. Yep.
I'll put that on. I think the mayor's got a foreshadow. So just so people online are aware, Mark's moved option 2, which is a payment plan of the whole 178. Yeah, because I think the mayor's going to move 50%, which then gets in line with the which is a So the mayor will move. So we'll do the 50%.
I'll second that.
Kelly will second it, and so you've withdrawn your one, and then you're going to move. You're going to foreshadow which one? Payment plan of the whole amount.
Yeah, I'll foreshadow amendment when I've had my question answered. Cool.
Yeah, well, we've already got a foreshadow, so you have to wait. And then Pauline will second that. Okay, so Yanni.
Cool. So can I just check if we can do a development agreement with them that would reduce the amount of development contributions required?
A development agreement, there's typically a development agreement, there's some benefit for council. So we negotiate with developers for a developer to deliver, for instance, in a greenfield scenario, delivery of infrastructure, and that covers funding and payments and any cost share arrangements. I'm unclear what a development agreement would be seeking to achieve beyond.
Sure. I mean, that was going to be the next part of my question, but the first question I just wanted to be really clear about is if we entered into a development agreement, could that reduce the quantum of development contributions that we charged, just from a technical point of view? A development agreement isn't the mechanism by which to reduce development contributions payable. There's the methodology and the policy is a remission or reconsideration, and the remission is before you. A development agreement is not a method by which to reduce the development contributions without a council resolution on the remission. Okay. So the second part of my question in regards to a way forward is I saw what we did with the badminton, where there was a postponed payment plan, and then there was in terms of community benefit, they provided the facility free of charge for 500 court hours per year for junior age ranges, and also they provided schools use of the facility as well at, I think, no charge. So, because I get that there's an issue with a private company and etc., but also there is a community benefit to the courts that is there a way that we could do something similar to what we've done with the badminton, where we actually get an agreement around access at no charge or at lower rates that would offset some of the DC cost or extend it over a longer period of time?
With the badminton, ultimately they paid the development contributions the full amount, regardless of the additional opportunities provided. In terms of it really comes down to the precedent of being set here, because this, as I mentioned earlier, we're aware of 3 other proposals for pickleball facilities. They will likely need to pay development contributions, and it's reasonable for another business owner to say, oh, why are you doing it for them and not for us in a competitive market?
But just under 6.3, did we have any discussions with pickleball staff around that sort of approach in terms of a payment plan over a longer period of time if there was a community discount?
We've offered a payment plan as an option regardless of any additional benefits from community use already. Yeah.
I'll leave it with the mover and the seconder, but it seems to me I would be supportive of trying to work something through in terms of the payment plan around community access. So recognising that we're doing something to help the business, but actually there is a community benefit if we, provide the payment plan.
We might just need to take 5 minutes so the team can get some wording. And so let's break for 5 and then come back and we can discuss it if we want to, and then we'll probably will, and then vote on it. Thank you. All right, let's start back, everybody. We just need. I don't know. Are we? Oh no, Pauline's here. Victoria's here. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll just wait for it to get up on the screen so everyone can see it. And we'll probably use vote, what is it called? Votendo? Yeah, just to... So it's probably worth getting that on your screens. You got it? Oh, good. What we'll do, so let's just talk through the resolutions. That's all right. Okay, so just so everyone's really clear, what we're going to be, when we can have a debate, if you want to debate it, the resolutions are, so to receive the information, the application, notes the decision, and the report is low significance, declines the original application, agrees to act inconsistently with the development contribution policy and agree to a 50% reduction of the calculated DC, and ask staff to work with the Pickleball stuff, New Zealand.
You play it, but you can't say it.
Yeah, I can't even play it. To be honest. On a payment plan for a period of, of 5 years with no interest charged. Is that is that yours?
No,
Or is that
number 5?
No.
Number 4.
Yes, no. If we're reducing it, we. Yeah.
Chair, if I can just assist. Recommendation 3 would not stand if 4 or 5 are voted or carried. So it's either 3 or 4 and or 5. So you can't decline it and then agree to a 50% reduction.
So that just gets removed. This is the Mayor's and Tim's one. So, sorry, Kelly's. Sorry, Barbara, not Scandra. So remove row 3. Remove point 3. No. And then 4 is agree to act inconsistent with the policy, and then 5 isn't it just to work with them on a payment plan rather than with the 5-year period and stuff?
It's your choice.
Yeah. So just remove the. Yeah. And that's what you'd said at the beginning, Phil. So.
So number 5 actually went with the original stuff.
Oh, sorry. Right. Yeah. Okay. So then, when we get to foreshadowing it, then that goes in there. Just to work with them on a payment. Yeah.
So it's 50% reduction or no reduction.
Correct. Yep. Okay. So what we'll do is, does anyone want to? Yes. There's debate or questions? Question. Yanni. Then Mark.
So I just wanted to check. So in terms of the 4 and then 5, will that include the ideas that I've put forward around the schools and the community having access at discounted or no charge? Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
Oh, sorry. So, in terms of the issue that I raised around the schools and the community getting some sort of benefit from access at a lower or free rate, or so many hours or whatever.
So do you want to add in? Because I think that's what you were talking about at the break.
Yeah.
Staff to work with Pickleball. I can't say it. Staff NZ on a payment plan and community access.
And a recognition of community access, recognising the discount or something. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Sorry, and can that just, and community access and recognition of the discount?
Well, it's just working with them. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what leverage you'll have in discussions with them if you approve 4 and then what's your leverage?
We're not great at leverage. Okay, Cool. Right, so anyone want to... Oh, Mark's got a question, then we're going to debate it. If you want. Oh, cool. Okay, so let's go into debate if anyone wants to debate it. Mark?
Oh, sorry, Tyler has his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Tyler. Yep.
Just a quick question. Is there if this one fails, does this just go back to staff rec, or is there another alternative?
Jake's moved option 2 with a payment plan
For the full number.
for the full number. Yep.
Okay, and is there a time limit associated to that? Or is it just staff work with
Just
staff
this.
work with
Yeah.
Liverpool?
Yep. No. Okay. So we'll go in. Mark wants to debate it, and then we'll. Yep. So jump into it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Shelby, for bringing this to us. And thank you for coming to me all those months ago to query this development contribution and the surprise it was to you and your company in trying to repurpose this industrial warehouse. I think this is a very noble and a good use of an existing premise, and it's a much needed premise. I don't know if everyone's aware that pickleball is one of the quickest growing sports in New Zealand and is screaming out for good quality indoor court space. They find it very difficult to operate in existing facilities because there's real confusion with lines and markings when you've got half a dozen sports all marked on the same court. So a purpose-built facility like this, it will be a huge benefit to pickleball and the very fast-growing sport. And the fact that it's so appealing across such a wide age range, I think is incredible for our society. To have grandmothers and children and grandchildren all being able to play against each other, I think this is absolutely incredible concept for sport and rec at a council sort of level, and I'm really hopeful that we can get across the line something to help this company to get themselves established and to get this hugely beneficial facility into the community and operational. So I would encourage councillors to please support this, and let's see if we can't get this up and running. And thank you, Yanni, for bringing to the resolution there the idea on community access and recognition of discount. I think that's hugely beneficial. We've done it before with the zoo badminton, and to do it with this as well, I think is really a smart outcome, and it's a win-win for council, win-win for the community, it's win-win for everybody. So here's hoping we can get this across the line. Cheers.
Is the mic working?
Sorry, voting's open now, Tyler.
Yeah, and your vote hasn't come through yet, Tyler.
I'm Sam Votindo's not loading for me, so I'll just vote yes to this, please.
So Aaron's a yes. Kelly's a yes. Yeah,
Kelly, we can do yours manually.
Who are we waiting on now? Oh, we're done?
So we're going to close the voting.
Voting's closed. And we'll just bring it up on the screen. So that's approved 12 to 4. So that resolution's passed. It'll just come up on the screen there. So just keep it up there for a sec. Oh, yeah. Cool. Okay, thank you. Thanks very much, everyone, for working through that constructively. That's really good. Okay, now let's go back to Peter Ryan's report, item 7.
Right, good morning, everyone. This is the half-yearly performance report, so results to the end of December. I'm just going to go through the summary of them, but This is an all-in report. As you know, we do every 6 months, we do an all-in. So it's bulkier than normal, but I'm going to just hit the high points of the vital few performance goals for the council. So that will cover service delivery, capital projects, budgets. Okay, service delivery, community and management levels of service. You'll remember towards the end of last year, we're at a 15-year high, well above goal, well above target. There's been a slight drop there, but it's like 1 or 2 measures here and there. We believe that we can get that back because we're compiling a list for general managers of levels of service that are close to target for them to focus on over the next 6 months. I should point out, by the way, that the results at mid-year are a very good indicator of what you're likely to get at year-end. Okay, so these are a pretty good forecast. They're also quite reliable forecast. So levels of service still well above average and only slightly down on a 15-year high. So they're quite solid. Capital projects, there's been an uptick, both watch list and non-watch list. There's still room for improvement around the watch list, as you can see there. The vast majority are non-watch list and they're fine. There's probably a reasonable expectation that we'll finish the year okay on those. Planning for capital projects. Obviously, you need to plan for them if you want to deliver them, so that's the planning end of the pipe. Both of those numbers look to me as though they'll finish the year okay. Value for money, we're at 38 out of 39 activities on budget or under, which is a pretty good result. Normally there's something affected by rain, central government, whatever circumstance. Overall, council is in surplus and the overall budget is fine. This is about getting the ingredients right. 38 out of 39 is not too bad. Capital program within approved budget, the threshold is -10, so 10% under budget is going to trip the red light. It has done so, only by a little. We've still got 6 months to go in the program. I should also point out that under the annual plan that you're going to be considering on the 10th of February, the capital program is seriously reduced down to a more deliverable size, so that -10 threshold is very unlikely to be hit next year. So that's the highlights across the set. There's obviously huge amounts of detail in there because, as I said, it's all in. It includes both exceptions to levels of service and things that are quite on track, which is the vast majority. It's there so that you and staff can focus on anything that they need to get better at between now and June. So look, with that summary there, I'm happy to take questions on any of the detail. Of course, this is underpinned by the capital projects and financial reports to follow. This is just the high-level view. Overall, steady. We are doing what we promised we would do.
Great. Hey, thank you, Peter. That's a good report, and yeah, interesting that sort of 6-month update and where it's sitting. So, good to see. Does anyone have any questions for Peter? Yanni.
Sorry. So, do you want questions on the individual?
We're on item 7, so anything relating to item 7 that isn't going to be sort of covered by the capital teams in detail.
Yeah, well, so...
what page are you on, mate?
So page 41, might be 42. So 43, sorry. 45. And it's... So it's and 43. So it's just I'm just concerned around the results around water supply and wastewater around the asset management maturity assessment, and it says the draft result is 60 out of 100 for water supply. I think it's 59 out of 100 for waste water, and it just says to continue to work on improvement planning, and it says that draft results are available. So I'm just wondering, do we have a time frame for when the report will be released, and what specific action will be taken to address the asset management? I have asked for a copy of that report, as you're aware, at the informal. It has not been provided. I've not been able to read it, but I do want to understand when it's coming to us.
Let's get to answer the question.
Look, Bede and I spoke briefly to David Griffiths about it yesterday. The report is in draft. He indicated that He thinks there may be a final around March. But look, that's a corridor conversation. I think I'd be more comfortable if we got a more formal response from David about that, so that we can be more definite than just naming a month. So yeah, I'm happy to follow up on that.
So what's the steps that will be put in place once that report is finalised to address the failure to meet the target?
So why don't we, I'm just thinking, to take on board your point, and Yanni, I know what you're saying, why don't we just chuck a resolution in that says, on the completion of the final report, council are briefed and provided with the report. That would solve your issues, and then it would answer the question around what the next steps are.
Except I'm worried that the report will come out too late in time for our draft annual plan, and where we need to...
you've already heard they're saying March, we're doing February for our draft.
But the results are already in here. So there's clearly results that we should be being made
so
aware
we won't
of.
put the resolution in to be helpful.
So...
Carry on.
Okay. So...
Any other questions?
So the other question I had was the ongoing case with the exemption with the water regulator. So we previously have heard that there was work going to be happening around Christmas time, where we've been in a better position around the exemption for chlorine out of our drinking water supply. Subsequently, we were told before the end of the year that now staff's view is that it's going to be maybe a decade before we're in a position to get an exemption for the chlorine. When are we going to get the update around what's happening with the water regulator? Because people are incredibly interested in this issue, and again, the goalposts seem to keep shifting. I thought we'd be making good progress around getting that exemption and getting the steps to apply for it.
Questions asked.
So
we have Gavin here, so he may be able to respond directly.
We've booked in on the 3rd of March to provide a briefing to council with Tomato ROI.
And will Tomato ROI be here?
Yes, they will be here.
Okay. And can you just clarify around the time frame expectations now around the exemption? Have they been extended?
I think, unless I misheard you, Gavin, didn't you say we're getting a briefing on the 3rd of March?
Correct.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, so I'm happy to move this. Mel's happy to second it. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much, Peter.
Thanks, everyone.
Bruce, do you want to come up for item 8, please? Financial performance report, which I'm happy to move, and the Mayor's happy to second.
Good morning, councillors. Financial report to the end of December, so that's the halfway point through the financial year. Very good financial result year to date. While we budget for a deficit in the first half of the year and a surplus in the second half of the year, with a balanced budget at the end of the day, we do have a deficit of 6.9 million at the end of December, but that is 34 million better than budget. Some of that is timing, including early receipt of 5 million of CCHL dividend last month, but we're still on target to receive the 65 million budgeted from CCHL this year. The majority of the surplus year to date is forecast to remain as a permanent saving. The end of year forecast is $21 million, so that's up from 16.9 forecast last month. The details that make up the majority of that surplus are in section 3.3, and there's a revenue and expenditure split out in sections 4.5 and 4.7 of the report. In terms of the capital program, year to date, halfway stage, $36 million under budget. That's expected to about double by year end. PMO will comment more on that in their report. In terms of Treasury policies, we remain compliant with all the policies, and the rates and general debt collection is well in hand. Happy to take any questions.
Sorry, didn't have that on. It's a good report for us to get, and obviously the challenge is always when we're running a surplus. You know, like I've said before, arguably we're taking too much money out of the community, so we can work through that as we go through the annual plan. Does anyone have any questions? That's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, Paul, do you want to come and do capital?
Good morning. Just a capital update for the first 6 months of the year. So we had a strong December with a spend of 119% against forecast. So at the halfway point, we represent about 45% spend of budget. The current spend is very much in line with last year. We're still a little bit cautious on where we think the forecast will end up at the end of the year, because we had a significant drop-off in the third quarter last year, so we're just conscious of that. And so why we're still sitting at a 500 million forecast from a PMO point of view. From a delivery point of view, we've got 85% of the projects currently forecasting to deliver on time. So spend sitting just under the 90% and delivery sitting around the 85% mark. We've just also provided some additional analysis in this report around the various activities on how they're tracking against forecast budget and spend to date. From that, you can see that parks and water supply and libraries are currently forecasting to spend 100% or more. Transport access and wastewater, which is our two largest activities by budget, are currently forecasting 94 and 98% spend, but when you look at their spend to date, there's certainly some risk. They need a big uplift in the second half of the year. They've only delivered or spent about a third of their budget to date. And then there's a couple of activities, stormwater, transport, environment and solid waste are forecasting significant underspends this year. And just overall, 35% of the capital spend is on only 10 projects. So the 10 big projects actually are driving a lot of the spend.
No, really good overview, Paul. Thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions? Yanni?
Thank you. I just wanted to check with the Takapuniki spending. It says that the stage 2 has been completed by December, and that stage 3, construction of Takarangi 3 is also progressing well. What's the expected completion date of stage 3, do we know? And is there an opening plan for stage 2?
I don't know the answer off the top of my head. We'd have to come back.
Cool. Then just the other question I had was in regards to just the activated sludge plant. Although, so the work has started, and I get that we've got it on a watch list in terms of capital, but I'm just wondering, is there any consideration to operational spend to address the impacts of the construction? Like, who would be liable or who would have responsibility for the social support to residents impacted by the construction? Is that the contractor or is that us?
Just keep going.
The contractor does have responsibility. So at the moment they're doing dilapidation surveys of the houses close to the site. So they are responsible for, they just work within the guidelines that we've put in the contract.
Right. So in the interim, while the construction's happening, there'll be multiple impacts on that community, and the odour has been really, really bad. If we wanted to get some resource dedicated to improving communication with the local community and improving access to health and wellbeing support, what is the budget that we should be looking at to do that?
I can comment on the communication. So we do have a communication plan in place, and now that the contractor on board, they've also taken on part of that role along with us to provide consistent, regular communication with the public close to the plant.
Sorry, I'm trying to understand. Like, there seems to be gaps in what's happening. So, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the complaints that have been coming in over the last couple of days. People are really, really upset about the impact. It's gotten really bad. So, Yeah, I'm just trying to understand if how we monitor the impact on the community while the plant is not working with the activated sludge, so while the construction's happening. So is it purely, it's not purely the contractor, is it? It's us as well around the existing operation.
Is it something that, Gavin, I don't know if you want to add, but is it something the team want to maybe come back to us on later in the day as well? If there have been complaints come through, it would be good to get a sort of summary of where things are at. And
like for example, one of the things that came up at the community meeting was the dust monitoring and whether there would be dust monitors put in place. There's been talk of having live collection of the air data, and so we were told, I think previously, that was difficult, but staff are now undertaking to do that. But I'm just trying to understand if, where the budget's aligned to doing that work.
No.
We can come back with that information.
No, the current one. Yeah. Okay, great. We'll come back. Cool. Any other questions, Mr. Mayor?
Right. Page 189, I see there that for the South Shore Estuary Edge stuff, the scary bit is significant risk that the budget will be insufficient to cover cost installations. That's mainly because ECAN had taken so long to do the consenting. But I see that it commenced on the 8th of December and we're supposed to have a result, and it may well be written in here, I'm sorry I haven't seen it, that we get by mid-January we have the result of the hearing. Have I got that right?
Yeah, there definitely was a hearing at the beginning of December. I don't know if we have the result of it yet. Not yet.
Okay, because, and then it scares the living daylights out of me that it's all of a sudden we'll be told, and I know it will be, that there's going to be insufficient budget, so we'll have to look carefully at that and maybe do it a different way. So, cool.
Okay, we're all good. Are you moving it, Yanni, or you got a question?
Just a...
And you're moving it? Yep.
Yeah, happy to move it as well. But just, sorry, just two final questions from me. One is, the wastewater Fitzgerald Ave brick barrel, appreciate that we've extended that because there's more damage. I'm just trying to get a sense of, as we do the investigation, how is there further investigation we should be doing around that corridor, around the risk of finding other failures? Because this is only going Morehouse to Gloucester, further up, is there a concern as well? Or will that be picked up as the investigation continues?
Gavin looks like he's got an answer.
I can answer that. So the additional pipe we've added, it actually shows it's in reasonably good condition. So we've had settlement in that area a few times. We've done work in that area to... The challenge has been pinpointing where the fines are getting into the pipe. So we made a decision to extend that renewal by, I think it was 80 metres, to certainly rule out that is a rick barrel that's causing the settlement in that area. So we've had cameras down at all those pipes. We've done condition assessments, we've included in the scope everything that is in poor condition. And just note that this 80 metres, that the inspections have shown it's in reasonable condition, but we're just ruling out that this is the pipe that is causing settlement in the Fitzgerald.
Okay, thanks. And then the last question from me was around the Grassmere wet weather storage facility, and I see that additional budget is going to be sought following completion of detailed design. And I think I've asked this question before, but sorry, I can't recall the answer. But are we, like, this was an infrastructure project with government, are we liable for the additional costs, or are we protected with whatever agreements we've got in place around it?
Might be something the team need to come back. Yep. Cool. So they'll come back.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Yanni. Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Great. Linda was here somewhere. Down there. There she is. Oh, cool. There. Yep. So we're going to do item 12, Christchurch NZ Holdings Limited draft letter of expectations, which I'm happy to move, and Melanie's happy to second. So is there anything you want to add?
Happy to take it as read. Take any questions?
Great. Are there any questions? Mark? Oh, and I should just note the director's sitting back. So, yep.
Just wanted to check that the incorrect reference to the LTP in all those letters will be updated to 24, 34?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Great. Thank you, Ali, for coming in for 2.5 hours. And Lauren. Great. It's sometimes better, though, than being called up to the table. So take it. Okay, let's go to item 13, venues Otahi. Same thing. I'm happy to move this. Tim's happy to second it. But you talk us through if there's anything you want to add.
The only thing I want to just point out is that we've put some content into this year's LOE about reporting in relation to One New Zealand Stadium at Te Kaha.
Yep.
Other than that, it's again business as usual.
Great. Any questions? Yanni?
Yeah, I was just looking at the expectation around the living wage, and we've got that included in it, but basically they're not going to do it. This is just 411?
I think
235.
Caroline is here from VO. She might like to talk to that.
Good morning. Yes, no, we are committed to the living wage. What we are still considering is living wage accreditation, which extends that requirement to our contractors and subcontractors. That's something we're still considering. The reason why we're still considering that is we engage a lot of local small contractors. We want to maintain that commitment to doing that, and extending that requirement could put that under pressure. So that's why we're still considering it, but we are 100% committed to being a living wage employer for all of our staff.
I just asked a follow up. So if you applied for accreditation and you talk to the living wage accreditors, is that something that you could work through with them around? Because I'm sure that they wouldn't want to see, big multinationals getting contracts in place of small local firms. Is that something that there's flexibility and discretion to work through?
We've not asked them for that kind of dispensation. It's not to say that we can't have that conversation. Obviously, we want to do the right thing. So it's certainly a conversation we can have.
Cool. Great. Thanks.
Thank you. I just wanted to dig into that a little bit because presumably you could be supplied from any company and that wouldn't affect your living wage accreditation. Like you could buy beer, you could be an accredited living wage employer and buy beers from anyone you want.
But we want to source local. That's really important for us. And so obviously local suppliers often are smaller and often can't meet that requirement to pay the living wage. Most of them probably do, but we've not interrogated that. But we don't want to deviate from our commitment to local, and we are concerned without doing a full due diligence process on what that looks like, that if we commit to accrediting under the living wage, that might put that commitment under pressure.
Well, it's surprising. I wouldn't have thought that you would be limited from whoever you wanted to source from through accreditation, but anyway.
Nathaniel, and then we're there.
Yeah, just quickly. So on that, I think there's often a bit of a misunderstanding around accreditation that it includes suppliers of products as well as suppliers of labour, and so as a general rule, suppliers of products, there's no restrictions placed on them by an accredited employer who is getting those products. So I mean, what I'd hope is that as part of that considering that you'll be doing, that would involve talking with the living wage movement, getting a really clear idea of what's in and what's out, and then hopefully we can hear back maybe mid-year about what where that conversation went.
Yeah, no, that's definitely what we want to do. Yeah. We just have to make sure that we're considering all aspects and how broadly that goes, because we want to maintain our commitment to being able to support local, and our ability to allow access to the community venues by individuals and groups in the community, and we don't want to deviate from that. So we want to make sure that we're getting the right balance, and we'll certainly consider it. Yeah.
Okay, good discussion. So that's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much for coming in and also sitting for 2.5 hours.
No, it was good discussion. Thank you.
Great. We're going to break now, and then we're going to come back for Christchurch City Holdings at 11:15. All right, welcome back, everyone. So let's go to so Linda's here. Let's go to item 14 around the CCHL draft letter of expectations, please. So do you want to introduce it? I think I'm happy to move it, and the mayor's happy to second it.
I would like to introduce this paper by just giving a little bit of background as to how we arrived at the content. The intent of the expectations are for the council to be able to influence the direction of CCOs as provided for in the LGA. The expectations as they are in the letter would be considered by the board. It executes its obligations under the Companies Act to act in the best interests of the company or the group, and takes into account the expectations and how and whether it is in the best interests of the company to move those forward. The expectations are underpinned by Section 59 of the LGA, which sets out the principal objective of CCOs, and by acknowledging that the directors have duties under the Companies Act that I've just mentioned. It's the key content that we have that is new this year is relating to local government reforms and value for money. General content has been on subjects that we've had in previous years, including living wage, restraint on senior executive and director remuneration, or exercising restraint, I should say, climate change, mana whenua, and buy local where viable. And that's
Thank you. Now we'll go to questions, and then we can, yep. Does anyone have any questions? Yanni.
So one of the concerns I've had over the past year, looking at our previous or current letter of expectation, is that things that we had in there weren't actually being done. And when things weren't being done, or things were being done contrary to it, our request, I'd like to know what our recourse is and what we can put into the LOE to expect, how we would expect CCHL to take action when things are not being done in accordance with what we've asked, or things are being done contrary to what we've asked.
So the issue here is that we don't have power of direction, and so we are in a situation where our expectations are made clear with allowing them the right to determine whether they act on them, and if they do, how they arrange that operationally. Our expectation as staff is that CCHL in this case would advise us if it wasn't going to act on any of the expectations and why. I haven't received any notice of that, of them not intending to take the expectations forward, and I'm not aware of them acting contrary to the expectations either.
So if we looked at what happened over the last year around the breakdown in industrial relations at LBC, directly contrary to what we'd put in the letter of expectation around having good industrial relations, working cooperatively with unions, etc., how do we stop that from happening going forward? Like, because we were pretty explicit in our LOE, and it was pretty explicit what happened contrary to what our expectations were.
Bede, have you?
We were just talking about that here. I mean, I guess the mechanism for council is obviously you've got your letter of expectation, but we also have the ability to appoint directors to CCHL. That's our shareholding responsibility. Yeah.
Effectively, where a company breaches its statement of intent, doesn't act in accordance with our letter of expectation, the process is that we as a city council, not CCHL, would look to remove directors.
No,
CCHL
sorry.
would.
So just if we go back to the point of why we're here, this is a letter of expectation to Christchurch City Holdings, who is the buffer between us and the operating companies. We appoint directors, we appoint them to all of them, but we appoint primarily to act on our behalf the directors to Christchurch City Holdings.
So the question then was, given that this is our expectation to CCHL, what can we put in to get a greater degree of proactivity when things are being done contrary to what our expectations are?
You said productivity.
What can be done proactively to address issues as they arise that are contrary to what our expectations are?
We appoint directors to the board. We've got a council director on there who's literally,
Okay, so it's basically up to us to replace CCHL directors if we don't feel that the company is monitoring the expectations sufficiently. Is that?
Well, we're the shareholder on behalf of the city. Yeah, they come in on a quarterly basis and talk to us. The board are very open and transparent and talk to us.
So do we, just a few other questions. I've put forward some questions on Monday around some additional information around what we could do to strengthen some of the aspects in the letter of expectation. I just kind of wanted to check where that had got to. Is there going to be further information coming back or further resolutions?
Bede might have something here, Linda.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, so we did discuss those, and we, with the compression of time, Councillor Hanson hadn't been able to get all of the advice back to you. But what we thought was that you've asked for a strengthening around industrial relations and health and safety, around working together for better value for money. The executive remuneration, I think that's going to be the subject of a further amendment, and also around the community wellbeing. Largely, we'd say those have been addressed through the existing letter, but they could be strengthened by including some of what was in last year's LOE and putting it into this year's LOE, and that could be accomplished that way.
Sure. So understanding that's the mechanism to do that, I'm just wondering if there needs to be some noting provision that is what's going to happen in terms of the resolutions that we've got in front of us.
Well, if you've got amendments, we're going to work through them in a minute because there's a couple of others as well.
Okay.
So
come back to that.
Yep. Could just come up with your amendment and we'll go from there. I think so. Jake's got a question.
Yeah, but I've just realised that. Maybe quite a stupid one. No.
By all means, you go. The floor is yours.
As you think about it. I'm just wondering, perhaps, if staff could highlight, I think the consensus I've picked up is that the wording that we had in the LOE last year was good and robust. Perhaps it wasn't carried through in the SOIs as thoroughly as what some would have liked. Do you want to detail what the process is for comparing those two documents and critiquing them?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Look, I think it would be the same sentiment as there in regards to industrial relations and health and safety and being a good employer. I think what we would do is, if that's the request of the committee, is take those elements and add them to the existing LOE for this year, so that it's quite express around the obligations of being a good employer, fostering those strong industrial working relationships, and probably recommend adding noting the importance of section 59 of the Local Government Act and the principal objectives of the CCO, and that could be done under a delegation to the chair and deputy chair of the committee to ensure those provisions are added in.
Cool.
Are you talking more about the reconciliation between
the two documents? Yeah.
I could comment on that. When the draft SOIs come in due 1 March, I report them up to you, and I do reconcile all of the expectations from the LOE and whether they've been recorded in the SOI, and if there's material differences, I would alert you to that.
Cool. All right.
Okay. Is it an amendment, Yanni, or a question? That'll be a question.
Just a question. We've previously asked CCHL to report on the changes to the lowest paid versus the highest paid. Do we know when we're likely to get that information?
You have had it once, haven't you? I think it's annually, and I think it's just after the annual report. I'd have to check back on that. I can't quite remember the timing, but I think it's after the annual report.
Just come back on that.
Mhm.
Okay, now we're at Nathaniel.
So I would like to move an amendment. I think staff have the wording, and I think it's gone through legal and gotten some lukewarm approval, which is glowing in my view. So this is it here. Yeah, so I'll just read it aloud, shall I? The government has signalled legislation to cap rates increases. While the legislation, it's here as well. While the legislation takes effect, they have called on local authorities to exercise restraint in non-essential spending. The council hopes to work with the government in good faith to ensure that a rates cap does not compromise our ability to maintain essential infrastructure. To demonstrate our commitment to fiscal responsibility, it is important that council, including its CCOs, reduce costs wherever possible. To align with the strategic objective, the council asks CCHL to work with its subsidiaries to investigate the possibility of a $0 increase for all board and executive remuneration for the FY 26-27 year. And thank you. And legal pointed out that there could be existing contracts that would be breached by a $0 pay increase. Reasonable concern. So this last in green, you can see council is mindful of the need for CCHL and its subsidiaries to act as a good employer and meet employment law obligations, which include existing contractual obligations. So I'm putting forward an amendment that these two paragraphs replace the remuneration section in the letter of expectation. Is it me or you that asked for a seconder? It's me.
Don't worry, it won't be me.
Yeah.
Tyrone's happy to
All right.
Tyrone's happy to second.
Fantastic. I know I will now speak to the amendment.
Not yet, but we'll come back.
We'll come back?
Yep.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so that's amendment 1 on the table. Who else has got amendments? Because I'd much rather put them all up and then we can work through them as a... Great. Jake?
It's largely putting back the wording that we worked on last year and was unanimously agreed. So I just wanted to make sure that there was no dilution of the LOE last year. There's a bit that's been struck out which can't be considered today just because it's too... there has to be consideration with the Port Act and other bits of law, so it's appropriate that we would deal with that at a later opportunity, which I'm comfortable with.
Do you want it? So, okay.
So this is wording that is basically...
Yeah, no, I'm just reading it. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. Yeah, I'll second it. Yeah. That's right. That's fine. So it doesn't change anything? No. That's fine. Okay. Well, why don't we just include that in the substantive, Phil? Makes it easier to having to vote on it separately. If people are happy with that, speeds it up. Because it doesn't change, like... Yeah, yeah. Cool. Yeah, just chuck it into the substantive. Okay. Any other amendments? Yanni?
All right, so, I mean, I asked for advice. I haven't had the advice. I'm told that those things that I've asked for...
What's the amendment?
Will we
slow down? Can you just slow down? So, rather than ranting, what is the amendment?
Oh, so, well, I just wanted to ask a process question because, like, I asked for advice on a number of things and the advice back was that we should delegate that to be addressed. So I didn't need to move amendments, but now I'm seeing amendments that are directly related to the things that I've asked for advice on that I haven't got. So I'm happy to support these, but I'm just trying to understand in terms of what I need to put in terms of an amendment to delegate on the things that I've raised that we're going to get further advice on. Which was community wellbeing, senior executive remuneration, shared services, and industrial relations.
So haven't we covered... So is there something missing from the LOI? LOE? Yeah.
So there was, there is stuff that's not as explicit as I'd like. So you want me to move the amendments now without the advice?
Well,
Okay.
What we'll do is we'll
Cool.
get the amendments so we can then consider the amendments like we do all amendments. So have you got? Have you got some?
Okay, so an amendment is that council notes with concern the decline in industrial relations at LBC, despite the previous LOE, and requests CCHL to take proactive steps to address this. That's the first amendment.
Okay, so just have you can email them to David.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
So what we'll do is we'll get, so go through them all, then email them through. Then we'll take a break, and the team can pull them together, and then we'll go back through them. So what's the next one, Yanni?
The next one is.
And can it not say notes with concern?
That council set an expectation that CCHL will develop a shared services strategy across the group with council to promote efficiency of resources and more cost-effective solutions where feasible.
Bruce Rendell has responded to that by email.
Yeah.
He did around the strategic property thing, and I understand that. But I do recall what we passed previous resolutions to look at getting greater synergy between the services.
So have you got any more amendments?
Yeah. And then there was one around just being a little bit more explicit about the expectation that CCHL will continue to work across the group and with council for opportunities to support community wellbeing by using the collective strength of council companies to promote and develop pathways to improve economic prosperity for lower socioeconomic communities. Now, I did talk with Bede in the break, and my understanding is staff, again, we're going to give some advice around
I think you did give the
what
advice that you
additions
gave to me, yeah.
could be in. So it was going to be delegated to be incorporated, hence why I asked the process question.
Correct me if I'm wrong, didn't you just say it was section 53A?
Through you, Mr Chair, yes, I think Section 59 sets out the principal objectives. Section 59 of the Local Government Act, it sets out the objectives of the CCO, and that includes being mindful of the strategic direction and the objectives of its parent and so on. So that's largely covered in that area by that provision.
Cool. Okay. Any more, Yanni?
So, and I think this is kind of a little bit probably inconsistent with Nathaniel's, but I think it could be added to it. And that was a stronger reference to the lack of senior executive remuneration restraint and request more tangible steps towards reducing the gap between the lowest paid and the highest paid and reducing senior executive remuneration.
Okay, so that's all yours?
Yep.
Cool. So what we'll do is, can you email them to David? We'll have to take a break and get the amendments worked through, and we'll come back when the team are ready. Okay, so let's go through this. So, are we good to go? We're missing. So we'll slide right down, and what we'll do is, do you want to just talk through? So the amendments are there, so we'll go through them to start with. David? Do you want to just talk us through how you want to do it? I think we'll vote on them first, and then just close out the substantive. We have added one in, just a final delegation for Jake and I, just to sort of have that final sign off with Bede. So
if first of all we vote on this amendment, and then based on that, if that's approved, that gets incorporated into the substantive. If not, then it doesn't, and then we move on to the substantive, which includes Jake's amendment. Has a small change where the finalisation of the letter of expectation, the wording, the tweaking of it is, rather than being Bede as finance manager, it is to be tweaked and finalised by Jake as deputy chair and Sam as chair. And then I think Yanni's one is incorporated, is listed as well, so that can be voted on separately as well.
do you want to scroll through them? Can you see? What can we? Yeah. Yeah. So the first bit's the normal bit, so that's all good. But it's the second bit. It's the amendments that we'll just go through line by line. Cool. So we'll just catch up. We're going to do the amendments first, so we work through them, and then we'll vote on the substantive. But we can have a debate. Anyone wants to debate it can debate it now. So Jake's bits in the substantive. Yep. And there's Nathaniel's and Yanni's. Yeah. Yanni's got a couple after that as well. So yeah. Okay.
So I'd just like to speak to my.
Oh, yeah. Hang on.
Moment.
Wait.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Johansson's one is essentially wrapped up in section 59 of the Local Government Act, because that covers off most of the issues that he raised, or they have been covered by Councillor.
Oh, so sorry. So just to be clear, we're only voting on Nathaniel's and then this. Okay, it's easy. All right.
The remuneration restraint and the reduction?
That's Nathaniel's one. That's
and it's already in the letter.
No, it's not. Yeah, closing the gap between the lowest and the highest paid.
That is not in there at present. No.
Okay.
Okay, so Tyler's got a question. Tyler?
Yeah, it was just in regards to Councillor Johansson's amendment around the reduction. Yanni, are you referring to reducing executive pay?
Correct.
Is that even in order due to the employment law? Can we even reduce executive pay?
Can we? So I'm getting lost. So can we go? Yeah.
Can be done. Yeah.
But that's not. We haven't got that as an amendment now. No. So just that's why I'm getting confused, Tyler. So just to be really clear, the only amendments we're voting on are Nathaniel's.
Yes.
So I don't know if you can see them on the screen, man. It's one.
And you've layered Jake's one in. Yep.
1D and E.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we just vote on Nathaniel's one.
Citizens issues as well.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so let's have it. Kelly.
Can I ask a question of Nathaniel?
Yeah. On the amendment, yeah.
Yeah.
As long as it's a question, not a debate.
No, of course. Yeah, just in terms of the last paragraph, Council is mindful of the need for CCHL and its subsidiaries to act as a good employer and meet employment law obligations. Is that a bit redundant in terms of, doesn't that already exist under the current arrangement?
So it was the advice from legal to include that, just to make it really clear that, so it could be, for example, that an executive has a contract that allows for a scheduled pay increase. There's some existing legal contractual obligation, and I just wanted to make it really clear that I wasn't asking for contractual obligations to be unilaterally breached. Yeah, that's kind of what it was about. And they said it could expose those companies to grievance claims and that sort of thing. So it's just about making sure that it's a
So let's get into some discussion, Nathaniel.
Right, so I'll just speak to my amendment. So, yeah. So, I mean, overall, as I said before, this is really about making sure that when we're going to the government and talking about a rates cap and arguing that we are a responsible council and that we're trying to reduce costs, just making sure that CCHL, the holdings company we own, has strategic alignment with council in that conversation. And our approach with CCHL has always been that CCHL pursues the strategic objectives of the council. That's really why we own CCHL. It's not just about the dividends. It's about the strategic objectives of the city. I mean, this, right now, for example, we want CCHL to align their submissions on local government reform with council submissions. So that's one example. Another is the cruise ship terminal at Littleton Port, was where it was about the strategic direction of the city and not just about the profit of Littleton Port itself. And going way back to the 90s, you can look at Orion and how we urged Orion to look into seismic strengthening of their electricity lines to align with our goals as a city, not just the balance sheet of that individual company. So there's a lot of precedent for it. It's really how we run CCHL. And there is also precedent for these types of pauses on pay. In 2020, during the COVID pandemic, Enable, one of our companies, actually implemented a pay freeze where the directors working with the chief executives all agreed to reject bonuses, to freeze their pay for a year in solidarity with the community that was struggling with COVID. So this is similar in a lot of ways to that. And again, this is a strategic objective. Our goal is to demonstrate fiscal responsibility so that the government takes our concerns seriously. In our rates cap presentation, consultation with to central government, we talked about how water and roads costs weren't under our control, that increased by 27% from 2021 to 23, that we couldn't control that. In that same period, executive pay in CCHL increased by 22%, and that's a cost we can control. So it reduces our credibility in that conversation if we're not controlling the costs that we can control. Those the big four in CCHL, as we talk about them, the port, the airport, Orion, and Enable, all those chief executives are currently on over $850,000 a year. Now, this amendment isn't asking for them to be on a penny less than they are currently paid. It's just suggesting let's look into pausing those pay increases for a year to align with our objectives. So to me, it just makes a lot of sense given the environment we're in, and I hope it's not considered controversial, because I really urge everyone to support it. Thank you.
Does anyone else want to debate it? Yanni, and then Victoria.
Yeah, thank you. So I do support this amendment, and I appreciate that there are things that we need to be mindful of in terms of employment law and contractual obligations. And I think a freeze is a good start, but I still come back to, I think over time what we should be saying to CCHL is you need to reduce senior executive remuneration. It is, as has been said, I mean, if you look at the current CE remuneration packages, there's a number that are getting up into 937,000, 881,000, 880,000, 862,000, and city care has been divided into two. So combined, the city care, the old city care, if you just had one, would be over $1 million. So I think we need to start taking steps to recognise that when people at the bottom are getting offered 2% and people at the top are getting offered 8.4, 14.6, 4.5, 8.8, 5%, 8.2%, 5.3%, that there's actually something wrong with structurally with how this is being done in terms of how the workers at the bottom are getting offered the lowest increases and the people at the top are getting the highest. It's just wrong, and we need to address it. And we have for a number of years now asked CCHL to take action around restraint, and the only thing I can see is that instead of showing restraint, what we see, except for the COVID time period, we have seen the salaries of senior executive remuneration continue to climb. So I'd like us to do more, but I'm very supportive of what's been put in here today. I just think there's a moral obligation to have a fair and equitable remuneration across our council companies. And at the moment, it doesn't feel like that's the case.
Oh, thank you, Councillor MacDonald. My concern is that Councillor Hurst-Jardine's amendment is really is governance overreach, and we have all been warned previously by staff about actions such as this. And so my plea to my colleagues today is please remember that we are shareholders, and we made a decision as an organisation many years ago to be a shareholder, and in making that decision we entrusted our suite of companies to self-govern and to self-manage. And our various companies, they each have their own boards of highly competent directors who, need I remind you, that we appoint. And they have executive management and leadership teams who perform strongly in really challenging environments. And dare I suggest that they are significantly more appropriate and qualified and experienced to run their companies than we are. I mean, we only have to look at the performance of our airport coming out of COVID to recognise the quality and the competence and the experience of the people that are running our companies. This amendment is walking a very dangerous line, and as a lawyer, as a legal and my professional and legal risk radar is ringing really loudly, and I just cannot support that amendment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we are and do represent the shareholders, as in the people of Christchurch. I do think it is appropriate that we send a reminder to our subsidiaries that we are concerned about the climbing or the increases in executive pay. I don't have a problem with it as long as we have performance, but I do think it's appropriate that we do send a message and a reminder that we do represent the people of Christchurch, both in health and safety for the welfare of all the workers, but also the returns that we require to run the city. So it is a balance, but I don't see a problem with sending a reminder just to say we are conscious of the increases and we are concerned. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and I concur with Nathaniel's debated points that, you know, we're asking CCHL to align with our strategic objectives in our council, and that's on behalf of our people. This is a letter of expectation which most companies probably don't really receive. So we're telling them what we expect. It's not an order, and it's not to be disrespectful to say we don't think you're running your company properly, because on the contrary, I agree with Councillor Henstock that they are doing an incredible job. And I don't see any harm in putting this out there, that this is what we expect, we would love to see, and I think it's what the people of Christchurch would really love to see as well. So I'll be supporting this today.
Anyone else?
I'd just like to write a reply.
I'd
under 17
like I'd like to go first, then you
Oh,
can
that's right. Sorry, I thought we were done.
No, that's okay. No, I was looking at Mark. I thought he might have had his hand up, so that's all good. Yeah, look, I won't support this today because I think the letter already covers. Oh, and Jake can go too. The letter already covers it as well. You know, I kind of look back and go, and not singling out the council, I'm thinking more of the organisations. When we don't have the right CEOs, things go horribly wrong. And we've seen that. We have lived experience within our own family of that, and the costs that come from that are huge. We already asked for this, and I just think, you know, we need to choose sort of what side of the fence we sit on. We're either going to sit as directors of the company, and we've already made changes at the company. Did in my time when I was at CCHL, removed the bonuses, removed a lot of that stuff, and you know, now they're literally into salaries. And you know, I guess there is always a risk, and I know it is easy to target those people because their salaries are public, and it, you know, and no one, you know, it's just that I think it's the, you know, there will always be people that find it easy to target those people, but in the end, if they're not working for us, they'll be working somewhere else getting paid the same. So what you do run the risk sometimes of good people being poached. You know, we've seen over $450 million uplift across our companies in the last year. That's not just the dividend, that's the value. And you know, like I say, it's not all attributable to the chief executives, but they lead the organisations. They're tasked with it on behalf of their boards. And you know, equally, when things go horribly wrong, they're the ones we point at. So I just think we be mindful of that. I completely get the intent, you know, I completely do. But I think we already cover it in what we do, and we have seen changes over time that do that. And as for the directors, you know, again, we do put in. I mean, you know, we have to decide whether we want to hold these companies and own these companies or not. If we don't want to hold them, that's fine. Then we wouldn't have directors that we need to have that discussion about. or we make it one big company that sits within CCHL and watch that go to custard. But in the end, there's a public service discount that sits within these as well. These directors, I think, largely are very good at what they do. I think you're always going to have people around boards that probably don't contribute as much as they should. It'd be no different around a council table, for example. But in the end, that's diversity. So, I just think we have to be really careful that we don't look to vilify people doing work in our city when we have seen a $450 million uplift in the value of the companies in this last year alone. And again, I'll just remind you, when things go wrong with chief executives, they go horribly wrong.
Yeah, look, I think turning the temperature down on this one a little, I don't think that it's actually a huge or over the top step. I take issue with Victoria's point around governance feeling or governance butting out of these, because actually as shareholders it's actually quite a prudent thing to do to put an expectation that people are restrained with costs, particularly heading into a rate cap environment. If it happens in the private sector as well, with privately held companies putting constraints on their holdings to actually act in a constrained way, it's a responsible thing that any owner does, because what can happen in a public entity is people go, oh well, I'm owned by a public entity, costs need not matter, and the budget is unlimited. And we're saying actually in a constrained environment that we are soon to come into, that's not the case, and we're going to have to cut our cloth, and you need to do so as well.
Just a couple of little things. So I understand the concerns Victoria Councillor Henstock raised around legal risk. Been advised by staff that there was a very low, I don't know if it was low or very low, I think it was somewhere between those two, risk. So I hope that our staff legal advice is puts that to rest. And then if Councillor McDonald detects any vilification in these in this amendment, I'm very happy to remove it. But personally, there's no intention for it to be vilifying.
You're going to remove the amendment?
No. No. I'm saying if you detect any vilification going on in this
that
amendment.
is the amendment. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So you think it is one large vilification?
I won't debate you.
Understood. I really no intention to criticise the executives. Just about us all, moving in the same direction with our objectives. Thank you.
Cool. We're good. Okay. So let's get the vote. What's it called? Votendo up. So we'll do Nathaniel's amendment first.
Yep, ready to start.
Ready to start, and then we'll do the substantive after that. So the voting has opened. Voting's closed. Approved. So who's not? Aaron and Andre and Mel's conflicted. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so that's carried. So let's go to the substantive. Is he? Just so is he? He's again. He's away. Yeah. Does anyone going to vote against the substantive? If not, we'll just put it. Okay. So all in favour of the substantive? Aye. Against, that's carried. Great. Thank you very much, Linda. Appreciate it. So let's go now to Linda in item 15, please. Civic Financial Services. I'm happy to move it. Jake's happy to second it. Anything you want to add?
I haven't really got much to say. It's not a CCO, just reminding you. We do get their SOI as a measure of responsiveness by Civic to having multiple shareholders who have very little in the way of governance rights. I've commented before that performance targets leave a lot to be desired, and we have been trying to engage with them over time to get improvement.
Cool. Any questions on this? No, so it's been moved and see. I mean, It sort of is annoying, isn't it? In that we, that it's quite a substantial organisation that we're saying isn't really cutting the mustard, and yet we're quite limited in what we can do to do it. Yeah.
We've got two major problems. One is that there's a lot of shareholders with small shareholdings, so to actually get any change, we'd need to bring a lot of parties with us. And the second is that they've got no governance legislation by accident more than anything. They used to be an insurance company and they came under the Insurance Company Act. I can't remember exactly what it's called. And then that was repealed and they're left sitting there with no governing legislation other than Companies Act. And so it's very difficult.
It is a pain, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Great. Thank you for that, Linda, and thanks for all the other papers. Michelle, do you want to come up for water? And the Mayor's happy to move this, and the Deputy Mayor's happy to second it. But take us through the...
So good afternoon. So this report is in response to a council request to provide an implementation plan for funding granted as part of the 2026 annual plan for establishing meters in unmetered connections. So the work is being carried out as part of our smart customer water meter rollout project, and therefore Amana, the senior project manager for that project, is joining me to answer any questions.
Thank you for that. I thought it was a really good report, and it made sense when I read it, which is always good. Any questions? No? That's a good sign. Okay, that's been moved and seconded. You got a question? Oh, you want to say something? Okay.
I think this is a really good move forward because I know I would like to see us get volumetric as soon as we can. Now, one of the things we're going to be told is, we can't do it because not everyone's metered. Right? I've talked to the Mayor of Nelson and he said you have to do it. It's the only way you're going to make things even. If I look at turning my light on in Ilam and it cost me so many cents a litre for the so many cents a unit for the power, it's the same as for a person over in Burwood who is using the same amount. The sooner we get to volumetric, the fairer it is and the better it is, and this is a very good step in getting towards that. But thank you.
You're not doing another term, are you?
You haven't talked to my wife.
Yeah. I'd vote for you on that basis. Okay, let's put that to a vote. All in favour? Aye. Against? That's great. Volumetric charging carried. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, Brendan, do you want to come up?
No, we would have lost 8 votes.
So we've obviously had the workshop on this as well. Do you want? We'll take it as read, but and feel free to introduce it, and we'll go from there.
Sorry, I missed that.
So we've obviously had the workshop on it. We'll take it as read, but feel free to introduce anything you think's relevant.
Sure. So just to be clear, the other day at the informal, there was a question around whether the information at the workshop had been included in the report you've got in front of you. It has. So if you've taken the report as read, I'd just be happy to leave it as is for now.
Victoria's happy to move it. Pauline's happy to second it. Any questions? Pauline?
Thanks, Brendan. This is really good. Just in 4.4.5, ensure agencies have the tools to do their jobs effectively. Are we expecting any co-funding? This is preparedness to help support us with our preparedness, or is that all on local councils to do our preparedness ourselves?
Almost all on local government. There are very limited funding opportunities out there, and in the current environment they seem to be decreasing a wee bit too, so almost all of the requirement to pay for that will fall back on us.
Okay, and it's interesting that you just said that the funding appears to be declining, if anything, so that might be worth noting in there as well. Then actually it should be doing the opposite, particularly in the light of what we've just been experiencing this summer.
Yeah, I think we've definitely strengthened the commentary in there around funding is required from central government. I'm pretty happy that we've made our case very clear that central government needs to play a role here.
Yes, definitely, I totally agree with that, because it's becoming too onerous for councils. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks, Brendan. So just in paragraph 7, so just the numerous and emergencies, and there isn't, I mean, I don't want to labour what's happened in the last sort of week around the country, but I mean, Banks Peninsula is quite hilly and vulnerable to slippage, and that has happened. And so I'm just wondering we don't make a specific reference to that within the submission, and I'm just wondering if we should just strengthen that up a little bit.
I'm not sure that we need to, and I do take your point. There is one, if not two, possibly more inquiries going on about what happened over the last week, and I think our submission doesn't need to change given the recent events. There will be significant moves made in the sector and in local government, I presume, based on what we've learnt in the last week or so. So for now, I'd prefer to just leave it. You can be reassured that there are many emergency managers around the country, and every council, I presume as well, is having much more in-depth conversations about risk and how it's what we've seen in the last week.
Yeah, so you're effectively saying it's already being discussed, so we're not adding anything to it. Yeah.
At length,
yeah.
and much more to come.
That's been moved and seconded, so all in favour? Against? That's carried. Great. Thank you, Brendan. That's awesome. Okay. So we'll move to go into public excluded. The mayor's happy to move that. I'll second it. All in favour? Against? That's carried.